Welcome to Auntie Mel Mel Life Unfiltered, the podcast where we say the things everyone else whispers, feels, or pretends they're totally fine about. Around here, nothing is too awkward, too messy, or too, oh my god, did she really just say that? Yes, I did. This is your space for real talk, real stories, real emotions, and the kind of honesty that makes you laugh, cry, and heal a little. Sometimes all at once. So grab your drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. Because life's too short to sugarcoat it, and I'm not here to do that anyway. Welcome to Auntie Mel Mel Life Unfiltered. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Auntie Mel Mel Life Unfiltered. Today I'm joined by Lesley Andrew, an artist and an art therapist who helps people express what words can't, especially when navigating mental health, healing, and major life transitions. Lesley shares her own lived experiences, including multiple surgeries, and how these moments forced her to slow down and truly listen to her body. We also talk about her journey climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, where altitude sickness stopped her from reaching the summit, but ended up offering a much bigger lesson about honoring limits and redefining success. This episode is about tuning in, trusting your body, using creativity as a nervous system support, and letting go of the idea that healing has to look a certain way. Welcome, Lesley. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And
Absolutely.
great introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. For listeners meeting you for the first time, who are you and what do you do?
So, as you said, I'm an artist and an art therapist, and I'm in the UK, in the north of England, in Leeds, Yorkshire. And I, in essence, I help people to be able to express themselves and explore and express their emotions in ways that words often can't. So using art, whether it's through directly having art therapy or whether it's through encouraging people to really embrace their creativity, that's a really good way to improve mental health overall and help people to be more confident, like regardless of like what they've been through or what labels that they have been given or give themselves. So it's something that I've been doing I qualified 10 years ago. So I've that experience, and before that I was an art teacher. So
Oh, okay.
art's always been part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Art is such a healing thing, and so many people don't tap that side of them. So it's so important for you to bring that to the forefront and let people know,
Mm.
that's an option. That's something I'm doing with this podcast. I've had a multitude of different type of therapists on, different type of therapies, just to let people know there's so many different options out there. You don't always have to go with that one cookie cutter thing. There's so many things that you can do that will work differently for individuals. So.
Yeah, that's true.
hmm
Yeah.
What drew you to art therapy specifically?
So in that, I suppose that the change from art teaching to art therapy feels really relevant with that question.
hmm
Um, as I mentioned before, I've always loved art. It's always been one of those things, and I studied art at school, went on to art college, and because I loved it so much, I was really wanting to just share more of that. So during that time that I was teaching art, some of the things that I was doing was PSHE, which is one of the sort of one of the lessons in the UK. It's like personal social health education, and
Mm.
a lot of the well-being topics, like the health and well-being. And while I was organising that and teaching and planning that, it just became like those things were art therapy became on my radar. So I'd be helping students who were thinking they were doing psychology and art as their subjects, and they were curious about what sort of things to do, and I'd be saying, well, what about art therapy? And it was a long time after suggesting it to other people that it dawned on me that actually that's maybe my path as well.
Yeah.
And because I was, being a form tutor and being the person that I am, I'd have a lot of students coming up to me and asking me about their mental health, and they'd be, reaching out to me at different times. But I'd be saying, well, I can't really help because I'm not a therapist.
hmm
And, but then actually it did make me think, well, I care more about these students and their well-being than what
hmm
grade they get at their exams. And
Right.
that was a huge pull for me. And at the time, there was part of my sort of health journey
hmm
was going on at the time, like in the last year or so of teaching. So I was needing to take a bit of time out for that as
hmm
well. And I mean, I've always found art to be one of those things that I've done to relax or to for fun. And yeah, I was doing a lot, like, I previously wasn't a painter. I
Mhm.
did things like ceramics and did things like, um, textiles, and when
Mm.
I was off for my health around that time, when I was a teacher still, even though I was teaching people to paint, I was teaching students to paint, I didn't really do that much painting, but I really enjoyed doing that for me at the time.
Mhm.
So when I'm leading into choosing art therapy, it felt like a no-brainer, really. I wanted to use the creative passion that I have and use that passion for art to really help people and to kind of think an alternative way of approaching therapy that
Yes.
feels digestible, that feels accessible. And because I was so passionate about art, I couldn't imagine myself being a counsellor, or
Yeah.
there were moments when I was thinking maybe I could train to be a counsellor, or maybe I could train to do social work, but
Mhm.
then art therapy felt that one. Yeah,
That's awesome,
never
though.
looked back.
Yes, that's amazing, and that's so great you can use your passion to help others, and that's one thing I want to bring to this podcast is so many people take it, it's scary. It can be scary to take those big steps and changes, but it's so awesome, and I'm so proud of everybody that's using their passions to help others, and
Mm,
taking that leap and doing something outside of the norm. So that's amazing. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that with us.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, you've been through a lot medically. How did those experiences change the way you relate to your body?
yeah. I mean, that's a really thoughtful question because just so for context,
Mhm.
I'm 2 as we're sort of recording, we're approaching sort of 2 years post hysterectomy.
Mm,
So
yes.
that was like the 3rd surgery that I had relating to my conditions, gynecology, like women's health stuff.
Mhm.
And so actually when I look back, I it amazes me that it's 2 years and that happened and that
Mhm.
was it I feel so different. There's so many things that have kind of gone on, but just to be like looking back at my life, that was something that had been going on probably between, I don't know, probably about 14 years or something,
Mm. Okay.
12, 13, 14 years.
Mhm.
So when I first started to feel unwell, I would have a lot of stomach problems, I'd have a lot of headaches. I was found out I was anemic and we
Mm.
didn't really know why. And after lots of investigations, I called it like having, a full service like you would have on a car, that you're having every single test,
Oh, yes.
but then joining all the pieces together. Then it turned out I had fibroids, uterine
Mm.
fibroids, which are non-cancerous tumors inside the uterus.
Mhm.
And for context, it was something that my mum had experienced as well, so I knew a little bit about that,
Mhm.
but then I hadn't really known what to expect from me.
You're right.
And, when I was anemic, there were things that I just really struggled with, like, it hurt me to brush my teeth. Like, when I was driving, my arms just felt really
Mm.
achy, and the
Mhm.
steering wheel felt really heavy, and I struggle at work. And over time, I ended up having one surgery, which was, like, related, and then another bigger surgery that was sort of a myomectomy to have them removed,
Mm,
and then
mhm.
we're talking el yeah, 11 years, but there's 11-year gap between surgeries.
Oh,
So it's been
wow.
going on forever. And then that's when they sort of grew back,
Mm.
and disappointingly grew back, because you can imagine that you go and have surgery, you recover, and you go, and that was the transitional point between my last year of teaching and then
Mhm.
studying art therapy. And then you're like, "Oh, I'm well. I'm okay. I've recovered. I'm moving on." And then they grew back. So, um, sometimes life can throw these things and it can feel really
Absolutely.
hard.
Mhm.
And I mean, the thing that I noticed the most, the sort of, I suppose, the second time, was just how much it impacted on my life. Certain things that I just couldn't do. Like, I really enjoy my fitness and hiking and, you know, getting out and about, but I really struggled with that because my energy was really low and I
Mhm.
just in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nice to be like, whilst I, recovered from the surgery and recovered from the condition, I would say that I'm not quite there yet fitness-wise. I've got a long way to go with that, but it's yeah, there's lots
It
that you
takes time. Yeah, especially after a hysterectomy, I know a lot of people personally to me that have gone through that a lot too, and
yeah.
it takes a lot more than people realize and takes a lot out of you, that is a pretty major thing, so a lot of times this is kinda brushed under the rug, people don't think of it as such an important thing, but it is very,
Mm,
so that is a lot to go
yeah,
through, and like you said, you had your first surgery and you thought, everything was going well, and then for them to come back, that's rough, so I can't imagine, and
yeah,
yeah. I personally
yeah,
have PCOS and I was diagnosed late in life. I always had heavy menstrual cycles and cramping and horrible things, but I've always been
yeah,
a plus size woman. So when I was a teen and early 20s, they just chalked it up to my weight. Nobody would do any testing or anything for me. And then I went through 8 pregnancy losses. And about my third
wow,
or fourth one, I finally found a doctor that would listen to me. And he just took one look at me and said, "You have PCOS." And kind of like you said, sent me for every test imaginable to see what was going on and stuff. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. Us women get poked and prodded and have a million
yeah,
things done to us, so it's
yeah,
invasion of our privacy, and there's always so much that we have to go through with
mm.
that, so
Oh, that feels so, yes, appreciate you sharing that because there's so
absolutely.
much that you've gone through with that, and before you'd stepped up to say that, I was just gonna comment about how so many whilst I was, aware of the impact of my illness, I knew that other people had sort of more severe symptoms like
Mhm,
larger fibroids or like cancers as well and linked with so many things like that. And you were saying about like that, how that you maybe not being listened to.
mhm,
And actually I feel quite lucky really because especially the second time round, I
mhm,
just went to the doctors and I just said, "I think I've got fibroids again." And then
yeah,
it was just really it it didn't feel difficult, but it was just a long time between
mhm,
any treatment happened, that's all.
yeah. And yeah, I guess that, I'm sure that did help. You did know your symptoms and you knew what to
Yeah,
look for. So, you can go in saying, "Yep, I know what it is." So you
yeah,
guys don't need to do a million tests and everything. So thank you so much
yeah.
for sharing that. That's hard to go
Mm,
through. And there's so many emotions that go with that too, not just physically. So there's a lot of changes that go into that.
yeah,
Well,
it's like
mhm,
layers, isn't it? So
absolutely.
I was saying I was recovered. They talk about sort of 6 weeks, 6, 8 weeks, 12 weeks sort of thing for recovery. And really physically recovered. I could drive after 7 weeks sort of thing, but really my nervous system and the emotional impact
Mhm.
hadn't took a lot longer. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a big thing I'm trying to point on here, grief, because that goes into grief, there's a lot of
Yeah.
changes with that and a lot of emotions. It's always changing, it doesn't fully ever go away. We just learn to heal through it different ways and channel that in different ways, so I'm sure, your art helps so much with that, and
Mm,
what you do is absolutely beautiful, so that's great.
thank you. Yeah,
Of course.
I'm really pleased that I allow myself to create things for me,
Mhm.
not just, like, with other people, but is
Yes.
allowing myself to do, like, art purely for me.
Yes,
And
that's great.
it's all sorts, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What does listening to your body actually look like in real life nowadays for you?
I think an awareness of, like knowing, say, if I'm getting some news and I notice a reaction in my body, I might feel kind of a sensation in my head, or I might
Mhm,
feel a sensation in my stomach, or maybe in my throat sometimes, different parts of the body. And for a long time, I don't think I was that aware of that, or I might have felt overwhelmed by it, not being able to witness it at like I'm viewing myself.
mhm,
Whereas now, if I'm noticing what's going on in my body, I will be, I suppose, a bit more observant about
mhm.
it and more objective about it,
Yeah.
rather than thinking and feeling that, "Oh, goodness me, this is really like hard and
Mhm.
feeling like that impact
Right.
because we do feel emotions in our body, and we can sometimes have aches and pains that we think, oh, it's my shoulders, but it's, oh, I've got a sore throat, but really there's maybe things behind it that
Absolutely.
um being able to take time to pause, I think, is really important. And it's part of the framework I use with a lot of clients and with myself, like a
Mhm.
new pace, like stepping into a new pace when we've been through a challenge and taking time to pause, but then
Mhm.
knowing when to sort of act and what pause, act, create, empower, not necessarily in that same order. And when we're feeling like needing to listen to our body, it can feel really frustrating sometimes that you say,
Mhm.
"I am just exhausted and I do need to rest."
Yeah.
However, I used to make lists like I'd make lists, Mel, like, when I'm feeling better, I will do this, and it would be
No.
it wouldn't I never felt pressure. It was a bit
Yeah.
like goal setting. It was just a bit like it gave me hope, and it
Mhm.
gave me a possibility of I'm really looking forward to being able to shower by myself. This was one of
Mhm.
the things, like, with the surgery. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to my first walk outside in the park, and or if
Yes.
I go up a mountain, even better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's important to listen to your body, know what to going on in your body, and like you said, it takes a lot of strength and courage to want to check into it, or like you said, not just chalk it up to just another feeling or something that you deal with on a daily basis. There can
yeah,
be something really serious behind it, and as you said, making your list while you're healing, that's really great to, have things to look forward to and motivate you and try to keep your mind a little bit more on the positive side, because
mm,
definitely when you're down from surgery, that can definitely depression and things can definitely take
yeah.
over.
Yeah, what you just said about, recognizing when something needs checking out
Mhm,
versus say if it might be something psychological or might be stress related.
mhm,
So to me, that's about having that acceptance as well as the change. So, like, actually, I'm feeling like this, I just need to rest versus actually, maybe we'll check this out.
mhm,
And when I think about, health, and we often talk about, you know, narratives about the like trauma residing in the body and impacting on your health.
mhm,
And those kind of things can be helpful to an extent because you can, if you are feeling empowered to nurture your body and do the things that are helpful, that can be really good because you can, I'm just going to hydrate and I'm going to really look after my body, and that will make my mind feel better as well. And
mhm,
I'll feel more joyful and feel all of those things. However, when it's something that feels maybe out of our control, it can, there's a risk of that bringing about a sense of shame, a
mhm,
sense of, "Oh, actually, were you not managing your stress properly?" Or, "Were you maybe not managing your diet very well?" Or,
mhm,
as you said before about, like, the doctors putting things down to your weight, that
mhm.
actually there's a lot of stigma around that and a lot of misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
So, actually having that sense of, "Okay, I could," 'cause I'm a sugarholic, I'm a serious sweet tooth,
Yes.
and there's a lot of things linked with fibroids about, like, and a lot of more things on social media,
Mhm,
especially around the second time round, where they were saying you can avoid having these surgeries if you get on top of your diet or if you cut out sugar completely. And it
mhm.
felt like good advice for the right people. However, it just felt a little bit like I don't really want to be hearing this. I feel
Right.
like quite bad. I don't know whether
Mhm.
that is the case, or like it was very polarized advice. And
Yeah.
sure, maybe having a high sugar diet may have contributed, but I don't know. And
Right.
maybe the stress of worrying about that's going to have a bigger impact on me than um, thinking that, or suddenly changing my diet to just cut out sugar altogether.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's there's a lot of shame that comes with that, I completely understand, like, it kinda makes you feel worse about yourself, like, "Oh," like, "Oh, yeah, I know I do these things, but, you can't just change it overnight or just magically cut it out." So, yeah, sometimes a lot of those do more harm for us or, make us more in our head and make us think about it a little more than we should. And then instead
Mm,
of taking the steps to actually just make small changes, like stuff does not happen overnight. You have to make the small steps to make things happen. So,
yeah, that's true.
absolutely. How does art therapy support the nervous system in ways talking alone sometimes can't?
So when I think about the nervous system, I think, talk about emotional regulation as well as like the body and how the body feels. So sometimes we can be really um agitated and activated and hyper aroused,
Mhm.
like this kind of on edge state. And people might call that fight or flight. It's like our
Mhm.
nervous system being like ready to fight or ready to
Yeah.
sort of run away. And in those moments, making something that first of all matches that energy, matches that state can be really helpful. So if we're feeling really agitated, if we've got that um crayons out and we're moving our both hands around, drawing on a big piece of paper, splatting paint, getting those emotions out
Mhm.
onto paper, really that cathartic release, that
Mhm.
can help feel that there's a match, like we're
Yes.
matching where this is at. And then slowly kind of change the tone and the pace of the art making. So we've started off really big movements, and this is probably just an innate thing. If somebody was
Mhm.
feeling angry and I gave them a a crayon or a pad of paper and some paint, it's often big movements because
Mhm.
our body needs to move in those moments.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you are forced to calm down, which you go and calm down and do something that's like a relaxing thing, a
Mhm.
relaxing artwork, like there's lots of the way that we use different art materials can really either really energize or calm.
Mhm.
If if when somebody's nervous system was in that fight or flight state, we were getting them to do something that's really small and controlled, then they've still got all of this energy inside them. So whilst it might seem that they're calm because they're moving less, actually it's all trapped inside.
Mhm.
So I would really encourage like big movements, maybe like
Mhm.
big curved marks, lots of
Yes.
freestyle things, and that maybe using both hands. There's a technique called bilateral drawing
Mhm.
where both hands can be used, and sometimes there's symmetrical lines and drawings. Other times we follow our pen. We have a crayon in each hand and follow along. And by being aware of how much pressure to apply or how fast to move that pencil or that crayon, we
Mhm.
can get to know what's going on in our body as well.
Yeah.
Imagine you've got a piece of string going from that crayon that you're holding on with your finger and your thumb all the way up along your arms and then into your like your central nervous system, and just working like you, like connecting with you
Yes.
overall. And likewise, if somebody was feeling really flat or they're feeling that quite withdrawn or depressed, then the instinct might be if you're feeling depressed, do something joyful, do something happy. But somebody might not be ready for that. So
No.
encouraging maybe some crochet or
Mhm.
something that's a repetition that doesn't have like quite a low demand activity that somebody can
Mhm.
feel that they can achieve, and maybe some colouring, maybe some doodling. I'm a big fan of doodling. Always
Yes.
encourage people to doodle. And then it might be that even doodling in bed, somebody could
Mhm.
could feel like really like frozen in that freeze state where the nervous system is just like almost shut down,
Mhm.
and like the body just can't really do very much. It's needing to feel like a sense of rest, just needing that rest.
Mhm.
But sitting and doodling in bed can be really helpful like that. It's like, I mean, be careful what materials you use. You might
Yes.
end up making a mess. But
Mhm.
that's a way of maybe breaking the emotion and breaking the state
Yeah,
so that
that's
then
awesome.
you can do other things from that.
Yeah. that's amazing how, you can explain how the 2 and 2 go together and, if you're angry and frustrated, maybe getting those bigger brush strokes out, maybe doing, like, some splatter art, and like you said, maybe the calmer things, it's just keeping everything inside, you kinda have no outlet. I know a big thing around my area is, like, rage rooms, like, people go in and
Oh, yeah.
smash things, yeah, like TVs and vases and stuff like that, like, sometimes you just need that outlet to get that out of there, and then, like you said, there's other times
Mm,
you need that calming. I've been a big doodler ever since I was a kid, I just will draw random stuff. I'm not really artistic, but I enjoy, like, adult coloring books, like, all
yeah,
of that stuff to help calm me down, like, there's times where I get too addicted to scrolling my phone, and I'll in my mind, like, "Okay, I'll start using that adult coloring book instead." Like, my hands just need something, but that's a nicer, calmer way to do that, so it's so
yeah,
important.
and there's so many different things that you can do, and
Mhm.
as you were speaking, one of the things that you did say was that, "Oh, I'm not very artistic,"
Yeah.
and I speak to people all the time that say things like that, that
Mhm.
I'm not very creative, I'm just not a creative type, or even say I used to do art, but haven't for a
Mhm.
long time, and I'm not just really don't really know where to start,
Right.
and I would say, like, anyone can be creative. It's about unlocking something within you. However,
Absolutely.
actually, and really unleashing that and giving yourself permission to do that.
Mhm.
However, it can be really intimidating for many people. Where do you
Yeah.
start? How do you get going with that? And part of something I'm working on for myself is and I'm not sure how well I'm doing this, to be fair, because as I say it aloud, I'm thinking, "Yeah, well, maybe not." Like, I'm challenging my thoughts about not being very logical or not being
Mhm.
very organized, because if I'm encouraging people that, "Oh, you can be creative too," like, everyone can be creative, and then I'm saying, "Well, I'm just not an organized person," then,
Right.
yeah, it's like, I need to be we sit with them both, and
Mhm.
sometimes it is about what's needed in the moment, and
Absolutely.
yeah, being creative isn't just about the arts and the crafts and,
Yeah.
the expressive
Yes,
qualities,
it's
but
absolutely. It's just
different
kinda
things.
getting your feelings and your creativity out there. That was actually gonna be my next question is what do you
Oh.
say to people that aren't say they're not creative? And you answered that right there, everyone has a creative side and everything something and it doesn't have to be for anybody else, it can be for you, so that doesn't matter. I enjoy, like, drawing and painting stuff, it's not fully my thing, but over the years, I do resin art. And I find that
Mm.
really relaxing, and I can create different jewelries or different trays and different things, and I love glitter, I love sparkly things, so, like, it's
Oh,
fun to
yeah.
be able to create different things, and I've had great feedback from it. I kinda took a break from it now, but yeah, there's so many different ways, and you mentioned crocheting earlier.
Mm.
My grandma actually taught me that when I was younger. I need to refresh, but that's really relaxing, and it's really motivating and inspiring when you get something done and actually create something, so there's so many different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. There's so many things, and I think sometimes people maybe see they can access a craft. They might
Mhm.
be kind of, "Oh, I'd quite like to do the diamond art or do something like
Yeah.
that," or they might do knitting or crochet, but then they might not see that it's possible for them to have a big canvas and do
Mhm.
painting or do
Absolutely.
something that would feel like real art sort of
Mhm.
thing. But
Yeah.
it is just giving yourself permission to try.
Mhm.
Like, much like if I was going to do sort of karaoke, I'm not I'm not saying I wouldn't stop myself doing karaoke because I know that I'm not gonna be a pop star. I'm not good enough to
Right.
be a pop star. I'd go and still enjoy
Yeah.
it and just
Yes.
sing terribly, it's fine. Or there
Right.
might be moments when it feels like I'm singing in tune.
Mhm.
I may or
Yeah.
may not be, I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the point of karaoke.
yeah. But
Yeah,
so there's
no.
so many there's lots of creative things like cooking, I would say is creative,
Mhm.
how you dress, doing your
Yes.
gardening, how you like, you're creating a life that you want as well,
Yes.
and planning a holiday, lots of
Yes.
creative ways to use
Absolutely.
creativity.
Yes, I'm a bit I love to cook, and I get that from my father, and we're the type we don't use recipes, we just kinda throw stuff together, and, that is one of my love languages is feeding others and nourishing them, so, yeah, and, this past summer, I found my love for gardening and became a
Mm,
huge plant and flower lady, so, yeah, it takes so much you get so much pride out of that, and it was really cool to see what you can create and come up with, so, like you
yeah,
said, there's so many different outlets that you can do.
yeah, for sure.
Um, Now let's kinda go into your story about Mount Kilimanjaro, if you wanna share kind
Mhm.
of why you wanted to do that, how that started and how your journey went with that.
Yeah. So this it feels like a story that people don't really hear very often. And just, just the experience of not reaching the summit. So we have all these stories, we read books, there's lots of things about what it was like at the summit, what it was like. And actually they were all the things that I read when I was preparing for it.
Mhm.
Whereas actually then I never thought it's not gonna happen. There was no point, there was no moment where I thought, "Oh, I just don't have the mindset for this. I just don't have the
Right.
thing." It's just regardless. But, it came up, the idea of doing Kilimanjaro came up. I did the trip in 2018, February, and it was a friend of a friend who had been on the trip of the year before or 2 years before, and he was part of sort of the obstacle racing community that I was involved with at the moment, lots of mud runs, and I think he did some hiking as well. So I was really inspired by that, and I saw he'd recommended the company that I worked with. I can't even think of the name of the people that I went with, but he recommended them, and it just seemed to be the right timing for me to do it. So I
Mhm.
was just turning 40 in that October before, and then it was something really for me to celebrate.
Mhm.
But as well, I have always loved hiking. I'm in the Yorkshire Dales, and, like, the hills and the kind of
Mhm.
waterfalls and everything in the Dales are just lovely, as well as, like, in the UK, there's so many different things that you can see, and it's just
Oh,
really
I'm
nice
sure.
getting out and hiking. So
Mhm.
it was a big challenge to go and do something that was so huge,
Mhm.
and to be able to join a group, people that I didn't know, and to be able to get involved with that. And, yeah, that's how it kind of came about,
Mm.
that we
Yeah.
it was like a 7-day trek, I wanna say,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
maybe 6-day trek. It feels quite blurry now,
I'm
my
sure.
memory of it, but there's certain things that are, like, really, really distinct.
Mhm.
So, one of the things that they talk about is going slow. So they say,
Mhm.
like, "Poly, poly," and that's, um, that message of, "We want you to be walking slow," and that resonates so well with me because as a hiker, it's like I'm not
Mhm.
very tall, so, going slow was ideal. So it's kind of,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love getting out in nature and do walks, where I live. I kinda live in a rural area, like countries, farmland, but there are a
Mm,
lot of nice parks by and reservoirs, and that is my thing, that just being in the fresh air, being in the trees, being by water just helps me reconnect, so I absolutely understand where you're coming from with that. It's just something it's another type of therapy for people, and some people overlook that too, like, just get out and take a walk, go by the water, go in the woods, take a nice hike, it does so much for you.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we were, we had a group, there was about 6 of us in the group, and a mix of gender, I think, no, actually, maybe 8 in the group. A mix of genders, mix of ages, and there was one person that I knew in the end that he joined, and so that was really nice, and we were staying in, like, huts along the route. So
Mhm.
we'd stop and we'd, be embracing the food, and sometimes we'd have, like, the drop toilets, and there were loads of different experiences where I'm just thinking, "Oh, I'm prepared for this," but then in the moment, you're kind of not. So there was one loo where I ended up vomiting in the loo because
Oh.
I could just smell the loo, and I
Yeah.
had one of these scarves that just sort of go over,
Mm.
thing like that. But and I came out the loo and someone said, "Did you breathe in?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, whoops. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have breathed." Needed to just
Aw.
hold your breath because, billions of people,
Oh,
thousands of
yeah.
people are using these loos, and, like, it's just part of that you're kinda passing through. We just stopped for lunch and
Mhm.
things, and but you the the thing that struck me, as well as, culturally everyone was so helpful, was just as you're walking up the mountain, the terrain changes so much. So we're starting off going through the forests, and
Mhm.
then it goes into more sort of marshland, and then
Mm.
it feels more desert, and there's these massive sort of cacti that are like I've never seen
Wow.
such unusual plants
Yeah.
that really, really strange. And there was a point where I was one of the people at the back. I was walking with a Sherpa, and he was singing like they sing all day. So
Mhm.
there's a song that sort of goes, Kilimanjaro, 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 Lehman Brave, Hosanna. And it's just the energy is
Mhm.
just amazing. And
Yeah.
so I was walking with this guy who um just allowing me to go slowly, and the
Mhm.
rest of my group were a little bit further ahead. And I remember looking at these plants and just thinking, "Oh my gosh," I just like, I'm not especially religious, or I'd say
Mhm.
I'm more spiritual than religious, but I had
Yes,
this
me
sense
too.
of, actually, I feel really connected to God here. It's
That's
like
amazing.
it was probably one of the as we were getting higher and higher, and then, yeah, it just felt like it felt quite powerful.
Mhm.
And then the next stop was the place where I ended up spending the most amount of time. So, Hirombo, that's where I stayed there so much because I got altitude sickness.
Mm.
So I don't know whether, like, it's yeah, I don't know, like, do you have any other questions at that point about that bit? Because,
Nope, you
like,
can go on to whichever you'd like to go into now,
oh,
yeah.
that's cool. So we have these days where we're walking, and then we're, like, resting, and then we
Mhm.
fuel up with more sort of loads and loads of water, and then we just keep going. And we had a night at Harombo to acclimatise to the altitude,
Mhm.
and then the next step was going up to a place called Kibo Huts,
Mm.
and this is when we'd stopped for lunch about 4,000 meters high, and then we'd caught up to Kibo Huts, and this is when I got really ill. So we were at 4,812 meters high, I think it's no,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
meters. And I'd arrived, and I just went to have a lie down. The idea of this place was that there's place for people to sleep, you had
Mhm.
something to eat, and then at midnight everybody set off up onto the final hike up to the summit. So
Mhm.
you did, like, it was a night hike. It was part of the whole reason for that was about
Right.
maybe getting the sunrise in the morning. But I
Oh,
think
that's
there's lots of
amazing.
things about safety as well for doing it
Of
then.
course.
So I'd lie down, and then I woke up, and I just felt really, really dizzy. And I just, like, I got told it's dinner time, come for your dinner. And just felt really, really dizzy. And I sat down on this bench, and I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt really light-hearted, light-headed, and I ended up crawling.
Aw.
It's been really surreal. I ended up,
Yeah.
like, crawling to the door, and I managed to get outside of the door, like, just really slow plod crawling, and then I vomited again. So I don't think that was I think the early time was more the smell.
Yeah. The
But
smell.
but I remember this guy going, this isn't his accent at all, but he was like, is she going down the mountain?" And I just thought, "Oh my gosh. Oh my god." I just felt so spaced out
Oh,
and
yeah.
weird.
Not in your body,
And
out of mind, yeah.
yeah, that's the altitude sickness. So
Mhm.
so I was ill, and I thought I might have kind of both ends sort of thing at one
Oh,
point.
yeah.
which isn't nice to hear, but it's also
Mm,
not nice to experience. But it
yeah.
just felt a bit like, "Oh, yeah, I do." And I went and then having done that, we went and had some dinner. They
Mhm,
did my oxygen, and it was super low. They've been doing oxygen levels every day, and apparently
mhm.
my oxygen was really low all the way through,
Oh,
but he never told me. He
yeah,
never told me. So I think had he told me, I might have panicked and then not
right.
got as far as I had.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, that was the end of my Kilimanjaro journey. I needed to then walk back down to the
mhm,
nearest hut, that Hurambo hut
mhm.
where we I spent the most time, and there was probably a good 7 hour walk back down from where
Oh,
we were,
goodness. Yeah.
and it was snowing, and um, yeah, it just so there's loads of things about with that about
Mhm,
there's a disappointment about having not got to the top
right.
because the way that I was feeling was that mindset wise, I was determined, even though I was probably I was definitely the shortest and slowest out of everybody. Um, Not necessarily the oldest. There were a lot of people that were
Mhm,
sort of ex-military that were kind of
mm,
powering on. But yeah, there was in terms of my mindset, I was really determined, and it just wasn't to be. So I
right.
had a day just chilling out sort of at that lower level, and then when everybody else came back down to share the news that they'd got to the top or that what it was like, then I was there to sort of meet them.
Mhm.
So which was really lovely in a sense because I've got a photograph that I sometimes have. Well, I've got this photograph that I took and I do put it on my Facebook cover profile all the time, and it's from the door of my little hut out and seeing the little huts and seeing the buildings and the solar panels and then all the clouds like just
Oh,
underneath.
wow.
So we were
Yeah.
above the clouds, and it's just stunning. And it just
Mhm,
reminds me of how far I'd got, but and as well how sort of grateful I am that I did head back down because
mhm.
I think it was the best decision. I'm glad that I didn't have to make that decision
Right.
and that based on how do you feel, but based on them doing that medical thing of
Yeah.
going, no, she's and I might have been, like, pale, I
Right.
think I had a nosebleed at some time. This is not putting people off that going up Kilimanjaro.
Right.
A lot of
Yeah.
people most people that do go, like, there's so many things that most people that go do manage really well, and I
Mhm,
don't think it's you could be really, really fit and you could get altitude sickness, or you could be the first time you've ever put hiking boots on and be
mhm.
absolutely fine. I don't think there's any sort of preference really,
Right,
but
absolutely.
some people had, altitude sickness tablets, which I didn't.
Mhm.
So and I don't know the best,
Right.
but not everyone did, but, I think the reason why I wanted to sort of share about that is linked with the idea of it being about the journey, not
Mhm.
about the destination, and
Absolutely.
there's certain things that were really frustrating that people were asking me about, well, I would be saying I'm disappointed that I didn't get to the top, and there's maybe partly acknowledge that, but I didn't really notice that it would be, "Well, you got this far," or "What's your next challenge?" And I'd be thinking, "Well, I haven't got to the bottom quite yet."
Right.
Um, but then all in all, as I look back at 8 years, it really makes me think about the journey, not the destination.
Yes.
Because that story that story that I've got, my experience is so unique to me. I was the only person that came back down,
Mhm.
and linking in with my health stuff and linking in with art therapy, the process, not the product, there's that
Mhm.
a huge parallel, and
Yes.
I think in many ways, the disappointment of not reaching the top wasn't about not being actually at the top, it was about feeling disconnected from the rest of the group and
Okay,
feeling that
yeah.
I wasn't part of the group anymore.
Mhm.
So really having that this opportunity to sort of share. Actually, there were real interesting moments where it looked really pretty seeing the snow, like we
Mhm.
were walking back down, and like the Sherpas that were helping me were just like really cheerful. They were singing all the way
Mhm.
down, and there were times that they'd go quiet, and then they'd start singing again, and I'd feel that reassurance
Mhm.
that, yeah, but it feels so huge to sort of think, you know what? Yeah, can't believe I did that.
Yes, absolutely, and that's so powerful, and like you said, there is, beat yourself up because you didn't
Yeah,
make it to the top and not being part of that group, but you were there waiting for them. That's special and powerful too. You got to cheer them on in their success, and I
yeah,
would be the same way. I'm glad somebody was there checking on you, and you didn't push yourself to continue further, and
mm,
it's amazing as what you did, and like you said, you could see the clouds, and that would be such a beautiful spiritual thing. Like you said, I'm more spiritual as well, and just feeling those moments and yeah, having the Sherpas with you. And I just can't imagine that would be such a beautiful experience overall. So it's amazing that you did what you did, and it's awesome
yeah,
that you shared that with us.
yeah. It feels less like a tick in a box and more of
Hmm.
a huge experience that,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
That's amazing. That's so cool, though. That would be just the air quality changes, just the different things that'd be so much, and that's so much that, I'm a sensitive, I get migraines and stuff like that. I can't imagine the different, like you said, besides the altitude, the different smells, the different plants, the different things you encounter, you have no idea what could have contributed to making you feel the way you did as well.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know whether this is true or not, but in terms of the timing of then and then becoming ill again, it's
Mhm.
possible that my, like, hemoglobin levels weren't that
Absolutely.
high and, like, I could have been anemic or could have been
Mhm.
starting to slip into some of that at the time, but there's no point sort of ruminating and
Right.
analysing, but it's possible.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Your body could have been doing stuff on the inside that you had no idea. So a lot can contribute to that.
yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was such a powerful segment there. I'm just going to do a couple takeaway questions and we'll go into some rapid fire. If
okay,
someone feels disconnected or overwhelmed, what's a gentle place to start?
yeah. So I think taking time to pause, I would say, is somewhere to start. People
Hmm.
often don't pause, they wait until they stop or forced
Yes.
to stop. And I suppose my Kilimanjaro experience has told me that I
Hmm.
was pausing along the way, I was taking the time, but then there was a point where I was forced to stop.
Yes.
However, um sometimes people when they might push too far and then become really, really ill, and it's not something
Hmm.
that they can then recover from, or someone that's feeling overwhelmed with emotions, it's thinking, well, what is it that you're actually feeling? Which
Right.
emotion is it? Are you feeling um a sadness, or is it an anger? Is it something that how is it taking over me? Is it
Hmm.
stopping me from functioning? Is it something that's affecting my behavior? Is it affecting how I see the world, sort of thing? And making art can help people to reframe those things and help people to settle and expand and do
Hmm.
something beyond themselves because it's externalizing their feelings. And it can
Absolutely.
also help to maybe make something bigger, like grow around it. So um I suppose a parallel theory idea is like linked with grief. And it's like one of
Hmm.
the models of grief is called growing around grief. And the idea if someone's grieving, someone's experiencing, which can fit with different emotions, someone's experiencing a really big emotion, it's taken over, then they can feel that it's not going to go away, it's going to last forever. It can feel all consuming. However, there's that message sometimes, though, an expectation that it's going to shrink over time, it might shrink, but it doesn't. It's just that our lives get bigger.
Hmm.
So we start having new hobbies. We might kind of watch a new TV show. You might try a new
Hmm.
food. You might take up something, listen to some different music, make some new friends, go to different places. And
Yes.
when we're maybe very bereft or very overwhelmed with emotions, it's hard to do those new things because they're too much maybe.
Hmm.
So doing small steps can be really helpful. Like, I've got my sketchbook here. I've only got a biro, but that's all I can cope with at the moment. That feels enough at the moment. And
Mhm.
then I've started. And then, oh,
Yes.
actually, maybe I'll use an oil pastel, or maybe I'll go and do something bigger. And then
Mhm.
suddenly it's, oh, actually, I've got this hobby now. And I've reframed things a little bit. So instead of it feeling too overwhelmed, because sometimes there's so many things it can do to
Mhm.
calm the nervous system, like we said about the art techniques, but breathing techniques and
Yes.
stretching and meditation, mindfulness, lots of things like that.
Mhm.
So there are lots of things that can reduce that overwhelm. Um, but it's maybe a bit of both of
Mhm.
reframing it so it doesn't take over and it doesn't
Right.
become all consuming.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely. But
might be
yeah, that's so important.
yeah, and it might be something as simple or not so simple, but simple, easy to talk about as changing a colour on a painting. So like we're painting a sky blue, or somebody's
Mhm.
painted it sort of a grey sky to represent. It might be directly representing feeling grey in their feelings, and
Yes.
then oh, actually, I'm gonna add some palm trees to this like really rainy scene, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna add a sunshine, or I'm gonna add paint the
Yes.
sky purple, just as an almost as an act of rebellion, or
Mhm.
allow yourself to do something different.
Yes, absolutely.
Test out different materials as well to prove that you can do something that's a bit tricky, it's a bit unpredictable, and
Yes, that's
that's
awesome.
evidence is evidence that you can do hard things.
Oh yeah, for sure. That absolutely that's so important as you said. That relates all to it, you know. Pushing yourself a little bit, art is such a good way to represent that and push somebody to try outside of the box and try outside the norm. I've taken a couple like fun paint classes with friends and you
Yeah.
follow the instructor, but they encourage you to use your own colors and do things your own way and it really is empowering to see what you can come up with. So
Yeah,
that's
for
so
sure.
important.
For
Absolutely.
sure. And I think like we're sort of really doubling down on the specifics of art, like, and
Mhm.
the difference between kind of using a very liquidy paint compared to
Yes.
using something that's really controlled.
Mhm.
And actually everyone's different. Just what you take
Yes.
from it is different for
Absolutely.
everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that all with us. Your journey and your story is so inspiring and powerful, and you using your own pain and things to help others, and all the
Oh,
things you've been through. It's so amazing to see, and I can tell you're such an amazing person. So I'm so
oh,
thankful for
thank
you coming
you.
on here and sharing today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with anybody, or anything you want to say before we kind of go into some fun rapid fire before the end of
Um,
our episode?
I mean the thing with creativity and the thing with sort of art therapy is that there's so much that's possible,
Mhm.
and having that self-awareness of where you're at and what the intention of your art making is can have a
Mhm.
huge impact. So if you are making art, sometimes you might not know, but if you're making art because you're thinking, feeling a big emotion, feeling something, and the intention is then to feel calmer or to activate something within you. That's very different if you're creating art to experiment and to explore and to
Mhm.
express something. So I'd really invite people to look within really and like just ask them that question. It's like, why am I doing this? And if you don't know, then it doesn't matter. But
Right.
it's that kind of recognition that there's all kinds of reasons for doing things. And I'd say the same for other recreational activities or
Mhm.
therapeutic activities, that the initial aim might not be what you get out of it in the end. So
Mhm.
somebody might be wanting to make a piece of art to paint a lovely landscape, and
Mhm.
then the outcome is that they're feeling really empowered to go and apply for a new job, for instance.
Right,
So
yes.
you don't always know what's gonna come from it, and it's just have
Yes.
that courage to try something new and permission
Yes.
to do that, and bring creativity into your sort of self-development.
Mhm.
We're very big on doing cold showers and,
Yes.
like, journaling and reading and, like, meditation, and if we were to bring in a bit of a creative act every single day, or in the
Mhm.
same way that you would do the other things, then that
Mhm.
can have a huge impact on, like, really good for growth.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's so important. And on this, I haven't uploaded all of my episodes yet, but I've had, like I said, so many different types of therapists come on. I just interviewed someone the other day that does EMDR therapy.
Oh,
I've had
yeah.
a somatic therapist on here. So there's so many different things. And like you said, if you combine them all together, you can do a lot to help yourself and bring out different emotions or different things. And like you said, you have no idea what that will trigger in your brain
Yeah.
or make you wanna do, it's like somebody said you said, a job change after doing an art piece, like,
Yeah.
there's so much that come out of it just by letting your brain think or not think, turning it off and putting it out there and using your creativity, so that's so important.
Yeah. It's like getting out of your head. Get out of your head and
Absolutely.
into your heart, into your art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, that is so awesome. We're gonna do some kind of fun questions just to lighten the mood before we end, so, I know you're in the
Super.
UK, but are you a coffee or a tea person?
So oh, you know what? I am normally coffee, but I have actually got a tea. So
Nice.
sorry, but no, the UK is big on tea, but,
Yeah.
yeah, coffee.
Yeah, I do both. There's a time and place for both, so.
Yeah,
Morning person or a slow start?
slow start.
Slow start, yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a night owl.
Nice,
It does
yeah.
take me a while to get going, unless I've got something going on really early in the morning that I'm really excited about, and then I'm up.
Yes.
Yeah.
A habit your body loves, but your brain resists.
Oh, I think probably reading.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just yoga. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yoga.
reading's a bit of a different one because that's the mind as well. I
Right.
think I've not done yoga for a long time, and I think it is because my mind has resisted to it. My mind
Mhm.
ends up overthinking where I'm putting everything. But then
Right.
when I've really got into it, there's times when I just fall asleep and it's just lovely. It's what my body needs. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I like that.
That's great. Nice.
Inspired me to go
Mountains or
reading.
oceans?
Mountain.
Mountain, yeah. A word you're trying to invite more of this year, something more you're trying to do or something maybe not a resolution, but just something you wanna bring into your life more this year.
Some more courage, like stepping out of my comfort zone a bit more. I think sometimes I can look like I'm doing things that are quite brave and that I appear confident with, but then there's other things that I might avoid, and there's other things
Right.
that I had the word effort as well, which seemed somebody was laughing about that. So a friend of mine was laughing about me going, "My word of the year is effort." Seemed like
Yeah,
really silly because I've been talking so much about sort of relaxing and pausing, and it's the effort's about maybe something about being disciplined to do the thing that you don't really wanna do because you know it's gonna be
absolutely.
helpful. Um, and it's raising your standards a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. One thing you wish people stopped rushing through.
I think, mm, rushing through I mean, I could answer this by saying answering questions. Rushing
Yeah,
through decision making, I think
yeah.
maybe, or rushing through being quick to judge,
That's a good one.
but themselves.
Yeah,
I think probably
absolutely.
more quick to judge themselves,
Yes.
and I'm guilty of that as well,
Oh,
that,
yes.
like, if we stop rushing to make an assumption about what something means and
Mhm,
what something's going how something might be like, go, and have
mhm.
that patience, like, "Well, let's see. Maybe
Yes,
so, maybe not. We'll s
yes. Oh, yes.
we'll
Yeah, that's
see."
important. We're all of our worst enemies. We all can be these empaths and help other people, but, our self-deprecation and the stuff we say and do to ourselves is very, can be discouraging to ourselves. It's very important to take time and
Yeah,
push yourself. So,
yeah, yeah.
well, Leslie, thank you for sharing your story with so much honesty and heart. This conversation is such a reminder that healing isn't linear. Success doesn't always have to reach in the summit, and our bodies are always communicating if we're willing to listen. To everyone listening, take a moment today to pause and check in with your body. No fixing, no judging, just noticing. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who might need it and follow the show. And let me know what landed for you. Until next time, stay unfiltered and take care of your nervous system.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, friends, that's a wrap on today's episode of Auntie Mel Mel Life Unfiltered. Thank you for spending this time with me and stepping into the real, the raw, the messy, and the magical, because we don't do surface level here. If this episode hit home, made you laugh, or helped you feel a little less alone, go ahead and follow the podcast and share it with someone who might need it too. And remember, you are never too much, never too little, and never alone on this wild ride. I'll meet you back here next time for more truth, more feels, and more unfiltered goodness. This is Auntie Mel Mel signing off. Stay real, stay kind, and stay unfiltered. Thanks for hanging out with me today. This is Auntie Mel Mel. If this episode made you laugh, think, or feel a little less alone, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Sharing it really helps this community grow. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and right here on YouTube. I'll see you in the next episode of Life Unfiltered.